Welcome to VR Texas, progressive news where we always keep it local and we always keep it real. Vince, what's going on?
Speaking of keeping it real, right now we're going, it's Martin Luther King weekend. We're celebrating Martin Luther King, and the political winds are starting to do what they always do. They start talking about Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech.
That's
Republicans, Democrats start quoting Martin Luther King, but they always use the same quote. And it's the one where he says, I have a dream where my 4 little children, when they grow up, will be judged on the content of the character and not by the color of their skin. They do this, and you tell me what you think, but they do this because it kind of symbolizes we're all equal, we're all, racism is behind us, nothing to worry about here. But they always forget under 5 years later, Martin Luther King was assassinated by a white supremacist.
Yeah, that's right. And they do with Martin Luther King, Dr. King, with what they do with so many of our national heroes, which is everybody wants them to be theirs. They want to turn whoever we're talking about into their hero. And so they take their words and they kind of twist them toward their ideology, which is unfortunate with Dr. King, because Republicans, particularly white Republicans of the modern era right now, love to quote Dr. King in the way you just said to try to, make their arguments less, let's say, unpalatable for the masses.
Right. But here's what they also forget. I mean, so if we're going to quote Martin Luther King, it's like quoting the Bible. Either you take the whole thing or you take none of it. Martin Luther King also said that there's something wrong with capitalism. He said that maybe we should start moving towards a more democratic socialism. And in that vein, he was talking about universal income. I think he specifically said we need to move more to our natural guaranteed income, which is some of the things that we're talking about today. They don't want to talk about it, but that's some of the things they're talking about today.
Yes, you won't find Republicans quoting that. You will find Republicans very selectively quoting Dr. King in ways that take him out of context, as you've absolutely correctly noted, Vince. And I'm smiling and kind of poking fun at it, but it's really pretty nefarious.
Right. But that's what they use. That's their toolbox. And this gets me to thinking about some of the other quotes that Martin Luther King has said that we maybe not were taught in school, or maybe we forgot, but we clearly know that the Republicans didn't pay attention to. Martin Luther King also said that this society did something very special and specific to the Negro person over 400 years. He's talking about the bondage, the slavery, and all the other stuff. And he goes on to say, it's time that we recognize, and I'm paraphrasing, that our society, America, now needs to do something specific to the Negro so they have an equal playing field. You never hear Republicans talking about that quote either.
Right, that's right. In fact, they might talk about it, but they'll only talk about it when they're decrying reparations or other arguments that tend to try to address the historic wrongs and making them right.
Right. And so it gets kind of frustrating because they always point back to Martin Luther King and they always try to make this thing seem equal. And it gets kind of frustrating. And I want to say, for me, in this period right now where we are with, politics, when we're talking about the Voting Rights Act and we're talking about all these things and how the great big lie is affecting our politics and how people get elected into office, it gets me to think about people who are moderates in the party. And one of the quotes that I think about particularly is when Martin Luther King said that the great stumbling block of the Negro is not towards its stride to freedom, is not necessarily the counselor white person or the Ku Klux Klan, but it's the moderate who's more concerned about keeping the status quo or order than justice. And that's where we are right today. I feel like if we're going to go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful quote and a wonderful sort of driving force as we celebrate and honor Dr. King this week in Texas and across the country, that the moderation, or at least let's say the attempt at moderation from certain folks who claim to be Democrat, or at least on the left, is what's holding us back. And that's something that we need to fight. It is detrimental to all of us. And as we see in the halls of Congress right now, all the
Right.
way to Austin here in Texas and locally in Houston, where we are.
So the great stumbling block, just to put it out there for those that don't clearly see it, is folks like Christian Cinema and Joe Manchin. I know that we're almost out of time, but I just wanted to drive that home specifically.
Yeah, that's right. It's folks like that. It is a strain of a bigger problem, but we, folks on the left, on the progressive side of the spectrum, need to be as loud as we can possibly be, and we need to fight. And in doing so, we honor the memory of Dr. King.
Right. Happy Martin Luther King weekend, everybody.
That's right. Let's roll it.